checking in CIC.
Assalamu alaikum, hello, and welcome to the third video of Becoming a Brilliantly Equipped Super Teacher, Becoming a Best series, a production of East Meets West Educational Services. I'm Muhammad Shelby. Videos under this hashtag, EMW Teaching Tips, are dedicated to my fellow teachers and anyone who cares about education. They always give practical, research-proven ideas. In the first introductory video of this series, I talked about three important things: why our job as teachers is important, why we need to follow educational research, and I introduced the concept that was new to many of you, which is your job as a teacher is a mix of both doctors and police officers. How our job is similar to doctors and police officers is what I explained in the second video. We said that doctors give their patients procedures, whereas police officers apply rules. The three differences between procedures and rules were explained in that second video. And in this video, rules is what I'm going to talk about in detail. Let's get started. Let me go back to the traffic officer example I talked about. It's well known that you cannot use a cell phone by hand or, for example, go over the speed limit. If you choose to do so, the traffic officer will give you a ticket immediately without even asking you why you did so. In this example, you will notice three axioms. 1. There is a rule known to everyone. 2. There is a negative consequence also known to everyone. And 3, the consequence is given immediately without a delay. Teachers need to have something like this. We call it the discipline plan. Please remember the term. A discipline plan has the same three axioms. In this video, we will talk about all three axioms in detail. Please get a paper and pencil and be ready for note making.
David 109996 checking in CIC.
Let's take the first axiom, the rules that are known to everyone. Where do the rules in the school come from? How can we make everyone aware of them? As I stated in video 2, the Ministry of Education in each country usually provides schools with a code of conduct or guidelines to follow. Usually, there is a code for each stage, primary, junior high, and high schools, that should be available on the Ministry of Education's website. I've already collected many codes of conduct from different Arab countries and shared them with you. You can find the link in the comments or the video description. Notice that I said usually. Not every country has clearly defined rules that schools and teachers know, leave out, implement. The more developed the country's educational system, the clearer its expectations of students' behavior set by its authorities, and the closer its teachers follow these expectations. If those codes don't exist for some reason or another, we educators need to make them in the schools. Another thing, of course, the guidelines provided by the Ministry of Education don't cover everything in detail. So for unlisted violations, again, we educators have to use our best judgment. At large, there are two types of rules that must be known to everyone: general and specific. General rules can cover many behaviors and are applied by everyone, everywhere in the school, regardless of the teacher, the place, or the subject. For example, follow directions the first time they're given. Keep hands, feet, and objects to yourself. No cursing, teasing, or bullying. Line up to use common facilities such as the canteen or the toilet. Then we have specific rules. These can differ depending on the teacher, the subject, and the place. I will give you 4 examples of specific rules in different areas around the school. The first is inside the classroom. Some specific rules can be: bring your books and materials to class. Sit in your assigned seat daily. Make and break groups quickly and quietly. Talking should not distract you or other people. And there are specific rules for the playground. Swing only forward and backward on the swings. Sliding paths must be clear before you start your slide. Only 2 on the seesaw or the teeter-totter at a time. Only 2 teachers, not 7 on each side with the teacher standing in the middle. And there are specific rules for the cafeteria. Choose a seat and remain there. All food is to be eaten in the cafeteria. Finally, there are specific rules for ablution areas. Don't splash water on others. Don't use excessive water or tissues. These, of course, are just examples that you can adapt. Moreover, you need rules for the lab, for the morning assembly dismissal, for fire drills, etc. As for your own classroom, ask yourself, what are the 3 rules that if students apply, I would be the happiest? Personally, a must-have rule is about talking. Research shows that 85% of classroom management issues are related to talking. But more on this in video 4, next video. Do not present more than 3 to 5 rules to your students. Students cannot remember no more than that. If you say to your students, what is rule number 34, nobody will remember. And if nobody can remember the rules, there is no point in having them. Remember the first axiom, a rule known to everyone. Once students have learned and internalized your 3 rules, you can present your next set of the most important ones. Another thing, rules must be posted in a location where everyone can notice them and read them easily. Needless to say, signage should be in the area where the rules are applied. For example, the playground rules should be in a playground. The cafeteria rules should be in the cafeteria, and so on. It's very important to understand that the community influences our schools directly. In developing countries where streets and public places hardly ever have signs to guide people, signs at school will be alien to most students simply because they are not seen outside school, or, if existent, are ignored by some or most people in the community. Probably in our schools, it will be the first time that the students have been asked to abide by written instructions, not only verbal instructions. You have to be patient, consistent, and determined. It's worth mentioning that the more the teachers in your school take rule science seriously, the better results will be. In addition, teachers need to know the rules inside out and remind their students of them in assembly and pastoral classes and on every other possible occasion. Now, for the first axiom, you have the rules and everyone knows them. What was the second axiom from the good policing example I gave you? Yes. The second part of the discipline plan is to have consequences. Let's talk about negative and positive consequences at school.
Roger. No, 1 David 109996, checking in CIC.
So far, we have talked about how to set rules and share them with the students. Now we'll talk about the second part of the discipline plan, the negative consequences, or what happens when students choose to break rules, and the positive consequences, or what happens when students choose to follow rules. On the screen now is an example of negative consequences. The period for applying this plan is 1 week. Again, this is just an example, and everything here can change based on the situation at your school and the instructions from the school's administration and, of course, the Ministry of Education in your country. Please pause the video for a minute and take a look at these negative consequences. In this plan, verbal warnings and detention are what we have as negative consequences. Notice that nowhere in this plan do we mention physical punishment. That's for many reasons. First, from experience, having rules and procedures is more than enough to solve any discipline issues in school when applied strictly. Secondly, we all need to maintain the dignity of our students, not to humiliate them or teach them violence. Third, we need to preserve our own dignity. Remember, violence begets violence. If not now against you personally, it will be against the community of which your family is part, either at the present when the students are teenagers, able to do many terrible things, or even worse, in the future, when those students are the ones who determine the fate of their countries and the whole nation. Again, consequences come from the Ministry of Education. Find out about them and use them. To make your life easy, the link to the rules and negative consequences in the Arab countries is in the description or the comments. So that's for when students choose to break the rules. How about when they follow the rules? In this case, we apply positive consequences. We know negative consequences, but what are positive consequences really? These are rewards given to individual students or the whole class when they follow the rules. Here is an example. Again, change whatever you think is necessary to change in this as well to better suit your context. Please pause the video for a minute and go over them. Important as they are, unfortunately, most ministries of education do not even mention them. But the positive consequences are as equally important as the negative ones. Please notice that we not only reward the good students, but also those who show some improvement. I know you have a question now about both negative and positive consequences. How can I know how many times the students broke the rules to give them the appropriate consequences? And how do I know who has improved week by week to give them a reward? The answer is you need to be an extremely good record keeper. You will need to record how many times a student broke a rule that week in order to give them the appropriate negative consequence. Your record should also show if students' behavior has improved than before in order to reward them. In other words, you need to be an effective record keeper, and you need to keep an effective system for records. If you have one at your school, good for you. If you don't, then we at East Meets West have built a free software called Best Wrapper to help you keep the most important things you need in your school: rewards, attendance, behavior, and participation. This software will give you a weekly percentage for each one of these areas to use in your discipline plan. You can also use Best Wrapper to write reports to both school administration and parents. This system will make the parent-teacher conferences very effective without any further preparation by the teacher. The Best Wrapper can be downloaded from www.bestwrapper.app. The link is in the comments or the description. There is also a video tutorial on the same website to help you understand how to use the software. Personally, when I need to write a report about any of my students, it takes me less than 2 minutes to provide very accurate data, and parents and admin are always astonished at the precision of the details and the speed at which they were delivered. Talking about negative and positive consequences, there are two things that you must remember. Both negative and positive consequences need to be hung on the walls along with the rules. Also, it's very important that you not only give the negative consequences, but also the positive consequences. We teachers tend to penalize students when they make mistakes and not reward them when they do good. I don't think any of us teachers would be happy if the school principal remembers our mistakes and not say thank you when we do good, right? Right. Now, you have the ingredients of an excellent discipline plan. The rules that are known to everyone and the negative and positive consequences that are also known to everyone. But just like a good meal, how to cook it is just as important as the ingredients themselves. So, how should we apply the discipline plan when a student breaks a rule? This takes us to the third axiom of the discipline plan. The consequences are applied directly and without a delay.
Roger. Lowat 1 David 109996 checking in CIC.
One thing that should not surprise you is that your students will try and test you by breaking your rules. To be honest, I'll be surprised if nobody does. Students know that a rule is there to be broken, and if they break the rule and nothing happens, they know they can get away with things and the school will turn into a zoo. You need to learn how to give the negative consequences. When it comes to giving negative consequences, there are 3 types of teachers. The 3 types are mentioned in a famous theory, Assertive Discipline by Lee Cantor and Marlene Cantor. There is the hostile teacher, the assertive teacher, and the non-assertive teacher. Which type are you? And which is the right type? You will now know. Do you remember mischievous Ali from video 2, who called other students names? A hostile teacher, in response to Ali's behavior, would shout, making a big scene, and might even make mistakes like hitting Ali. You usually find a hostile teacher say things like, "Do that again, Ali, and see what you get. I've had my fill of you." All of that can be taken against the teacher and still not change Ali's poor behavior. A hostile teacher threatens the dignity of his students and fails to preserve his own. Faced with double jeopardy when taken to the office after being told off by the teacher first, Ali is likely to be acquitted. Ali knows that, and students like him push teachers over the edge so that they can get away with things if they were taken to the office. My advice is, my fellow teachers, don't even grimace or even touch the students when given negative consequences. You need to know that the discipline plan will give you a tremendous power and even a grimace on your face or a touch on the student's shoulder can be the last straw that the students and the parents can complain about. You need to be calm and firm, as I will explain in a minute. At the other end of the continuum of the hostile teacher, you find the non-assertive teacher. When dealing with students like Ali, these teachers say something like, I have asked you, Ali, repeatedly not to call people names and you continue to do it. Please stop. Needless to say that those teachers too fail to manage their students effectively. If you were a hostile or non-assertive teacher, you need to change to an assertive one. That's the right type. So, what does an assertive teacher do? In response to Ali's breaking the rule, an assertive teacher would immediately give the consequence, saying calmly but firmly, Ali, you broke a rule, you have a warning. The student does something wrong again in the same week, and the teacher goes again, calmly but firmly. Ali, you broke a rule again this week. You will do 14 minutes in the break time on Thursday. Calmly but firmly, my fellow teachers. Why do I stress that this should be done both calmly and firmly? If this encounter between you and Ali was a movie, what would be the climax? You might think it's Ali calling people names. Make no mistake, my fellow teachers, it's not when the student breaks the rule. This is the part in which the antagonist kills the hero's wife. The real climax is when you, the hero, take revenge. Or in other words, your response as a teacher to the violation is what really matters. It must be calm and firm. Actually, in my own classroom, my students know that if I don't raise my voice, they are in trouble. They try hard to provoke me or even sometimes beg me to shout or hit them, but not apply the rules. They know that calm, Mr. Shelby, means they are in hot water. One thing I need to tell you, both the hostile and the non-assertive teachers. If you know you are a hostile teacher, remember this quotation by Darren Quinlan, a popular educator. Disobedience is not an issue if obedience is not a goal. We want to change our students' poor behavior, not weaken their personalities. And for those who know themselves to be non-assertive teachers, remember what Uthman bin Affan, may Allah be pleased with him, said. Allah deters with authorities those who are not deterred by the Quran. Meaning, some people would not listen to advice even if it was from the holy book itself. They need laws or negative consequences in our jargon to deter them. There are 6 things you should not do when you give a negative consequence. Let me tell you about them. 1. Do not stop the lesson no matter what, and do not wait till the end of the lesson. Give the negative consequence immediately after the student breaks the rule. Number 2. You must record the violation. You can use Best Wrapper, the software I shared with you. The website link is in the description. All what you need to do is to take your phone and use the Best Wrapper to deduct a mark while simultaneously doing number 1, telling the student that he broke a rule without stopping the lesson. If you don't have the Best Wrapper, use a slip of paper to make note of the violation and transfer it later onto your record-keeping system. Many effective teachers assign a student the role of recording things in the classroom. You can do this as well. Number 3, Don't enter into a discussion no matter what the student says to you. Your only response should be because you chose to break a rule when the student asks you why you give him a negative consequence. And simply give more negative consequences if you need to, following the discipline plan. Remember, one fool does not make an argument. It takes two. Do not be the second. Number 4, never change the rules or the negative consequences in the heat of the moment, no matter what the student does or says. The student continues to do what he's doing and you continue to follow the discipline plan calmly and firmly. Number 5, never try to even touch the student or come close to him or her. Things can escalate very quickly and very easily, and this simple move can be taken against you. And finally, but most importantly, when talking to the students who broke the rules, one thing so powerful that always works to change student behavior is to tell them that you still and will always love them. Let Ali know that you will always be there for him to help him to change his attitude and start doing the right thing. Tell him you love him and care about him and only dislike his attitude, not him as a person. I know how you feel. I've been there in many training sessions. Some of you cannot even imagine you can forgive the students, let alone tell them that they love them. Let me tell you one fact. Those who don't do academically well and misbehave are not necessarily doomed to have a bleak future. Some of them will actually do really well and even exceed your expectations, that I feel that it's the student's right, good and bad, to be treated with respect. Take these examples. Albert Einstein was expelled from one school and refused admittance in another because he was thought to be mentally handicapped. Isaac Newton never did particularly well in school, and when put in charge of running the family farm, he failed miserably. We all know Thomas Edison's story when his teachers told him that he was too stupid to learn anything. Are you into movies? Take Steven Spielberg, one of the most famous movie directors ever. He was rejected from School of Theater, Film and Television 3 times. Denzel Washington would usually get into fights at school, and Martin Lawrence was the classic clown in his class who interrupted the lessons, whereas Nicolas Cage was the prankster who would always act silly. Do you love sports? Well, Michael Jordan, the best basketball player of all times, was actually cut from high school basketball team. And the list of people who were misjudged by us teachers but turned out well is very long. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that misbehaving and doing poorly academically leads to success. All what I'm saying is, when you have a group of children not doing well, be fair to them. Just follow your discipline plan. It does not matter who broke the rule, a good or a poor misbehaving student. All students are equal. Do not threaten students' dignity, for one of them might have a future brighter than all the students that you will ever teach in your whole career and make you proud. And if you're a real teacher, you know that is what we teachers live for. Another thing I always hear teachers who face classroom management issues say, it cannot be that easy. 3 axioms in a discipline plan and that's it? To them I say, yes, my fellow teachers. That's it to stop negative behavior. And in videos 4 and 5, I will talk about how to teach students to do things right, which, by the way, is something just as easy. Remember, my fellow teachers, great schools are not the ones that do outstanding things. They are the ones that do basic things very well. A question that I received on YouTube in the comments about video 1 was about how to manage schools in different age groups. Now I can answer this question. The 3 axioms we talked about here are the same to students in all ages. They do not change. What changes is the nature of the rule and the positive and negative consequences. You wouldn't make a rule for high school about playing in the jungle gym, and you would not give the little ones negative consequences for smoking, for example. Make sure to find out about the discipline plan in your country. Please know for sure that if you're the only teacher in your school applying the discipline plan and other teachers and administration do not know anything about it, you will be perceived by everyone, school administration, students, parents, and other teachers, as unduly restrict and maybe get in trouble. The solution is to bring everyone on board. Explain to them the differences between rules and procedures, what the discipline plan is, and what procedures are. Procedures will come in videos 4 and 5. If you think they will argue with you, simply share this series of videos with them. Hopefully they will listen and buy in. After they watch, you can go and talk to them about application. I usually finish long videos like this by summarizing everything that I talked about, but this time I won't, because I hope that you have been taking notes as I have asked you. I prefer to leave you with short steps to follow in your school in order to set a discipline plan correctly. Whether you are at the beginning of the school year or the school year has already started, the 6 steps I will tell you about now are still valid. Number 1, prepare a discipline plan with both general and specific rules and the positive and negative consequences. Number 2, explain to your school administration and other teachers the concepts of procedures and rules, and give them a copy of your discipline plan and get your administration's approval. Number 3, write the rules, general and specific, on posters and put them on the walls in the appropriate places around your school. Number 4, talk about the discipline plan to your students. Number 5, send a copy of the discipline plan to parents on WhatsApp. And number 6, along with other teachers, start applying the negative consequences calmly and firmly. This video about rules is only half what you need to know about classroom management. The more important half will be shared with you in the next video about procedures. I will see you then. Assalamu alaikum.